Hey everybody, tonight we are going to be making a pumpkin spice sheet cake with a cream cheese and pecan topping frosting. It's almost fall, it is mid-August, mid to late August, and it's in the 60s in New York, and so I'm really just craving anything that is pumpkin spice at this time. So this morning I made some pumpkin spice latte, so today we're going to do a pumpkin spice sheet cake. So everything that you need about 6 ounces of melted butter. I use Kerrygold. You need 4 large eggs, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. You need about a cup of a pumpkin puree, a solid packed cup. You need 2 cups of your almond flour, a half a cup of coconut flour. You'll need 2/3 of a cup of a sweetener. I am using Swerve. A half of a teaspoon of xanthan gum. This just helps everything kind of stick together. Some salt, Himalayan or sea salt is fine, just a pinch of that. 4 teaspoons of baking powder. 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. You can throw some nutmeg in here. I actually put just a tiny bit of ginger in mine just to give it a little bit of a fresh flavor. You can also use cloves as well. I am using cinnamon and then the gingerbread cookie from Flavor God Spice just because I think it gives it that really nice pumpkin-y, spicy flavor that I'm looking for. This is for the actual cake portion. After that, I will be using this block of full-fat cream cheese from Aldi. This is the Happy Farms cream cheese. It is comparable to your original Philadelphia. I will be using that with Swerve and a little bit more butter to make the cream cheese topping. So I'm going to go ahead and get everything measured out and placed into a bowl. I will preheat my oven to 350 because that's what I'll be cooking the sheet cake at. And once I get this all stirred together, I will show you guys what it looks like. But I will throw up kind of the measurements and what all is needed to make this. This is something that I've made since I was in college. I did not make it keto. I'm just now making it keto lately. So this has been a favorite of mine every fall, and I hope it tastes great for you guys. So here we go. Okay, so we've got all of our ingredients in the bowl. Something that I do that a lot of people may or may not do is I try to melt my butter down just slightly, just to ensure that it's going to mix really well with all of my dry ingredients. A lot of people will put the wet ingredients in a separate container and then mix those and then slowly add in the dry. For this specific cake, I don't really feel that that's necessary just because your pumpkin is pretty wet as it is. And if you're putting the dry ingredients in a separate one, you're really just putting your sugar and flour separately and slowly adding it in. And it really does not matter. You can do this with a spoon, you can do it with a blender. Again, that's my personal opinion. I'm sure there's professional chefs out there watching this going, oh my gosh, this is so wrong. But again, I'm just going to sit here with a spoon and I'm going to keep stirring this until everything is mixed really well. Okay, so once you've mixed this all up, this is about what it's going to look like. As you can see, I still do have some hunks down in mine. I'm going to try and get those out as much as I can before I put this over into my pan. But I did want to show you guys this just for coloring purposes. This is a very light orangey color, almost a beigey tan. If you guys like a lot of spice in your cake, I would definitely add some more spice to this, throw in some more cinnamon, some nutmeg, any kind of spice that you like just to give it a little bit more of that flavor. The other thing that you can do, I'm not going to do that, and the MyFitnessPal login of this cake will not have the nuts in the actual cake, but you can add walnuts, pecans, any kind of nuts that you particularly like into the actual cake batter as well. So once I get a lot of these lumps out, I'm going to be putting it over into my 8 by 11.5 clear pan, and I'm going to be popping it into the oven so that it can cook. Okay, so this is what this looks like. I am using a casserole dish, a clear dish. A lot of people will say to cook cakes in only the aluminum cake pans. I do not have one clean, so I'm cooking mine in here. I also like cooking it in here just because I like to be able to see the edge down here as it's cooking and it starts to rise. Do have a toothpick handy because this is a cake that we're going to be putting a toothpick down into the center of it just to make sure that everything is cooked thoroughly. But all we're going to do is at 350, we're going to place this and let it cook for about 35 minutes. I would go ahead and check it around 30 minutes just because a lot of ovens cook differently, but it will be between 30 and 35 minutes and we'll come back. This next step you can do while your cake is baking. You can also wait. It does not matter. I used an entire block of cream cheese. I used half of my block of Kerrygold butter. That is about 8 ounces. So I'm also using a teaspoon of my vanilla extract and about 2/3 of a cup of my swerve. I will be melting these two ingredients together and then slowly adding in the sugar substitute and vanilla. This is a step that I do recommend slowly adding it in just to make sure that you get a really nice creamy icing out of this. Once you do that, just set this off to the side and we will wait on our cake to be finished. Okay guys, so what I'm doing now is I pulled this out at 35 minutes and I'm just putting a toothpick in the middle and removing it to make sure that it comes out clean. So I'm going to let this sit for a minimum of 1 hour. 1 hour before I put any of the frosting on top. The reason you want to do that is because you really don't want it melting and just kind of running off to the sides. You want it to be able to stay where you're putting it. And so when your cake is very hot like this, it's just going to melt everything and it's going to get really runny and really messy. So what I did while that was cooking is, of course, I took my blender and I blended all of my frosting ingredients really well. I will blend this up one more time in about an hour, and then I'll put it on top of the cake with a couple of pecans crushed up. So I will come back when we're ready to do that. Okay everybody, this is the finished product. I topped mine with pecans as well as my icing. All I'm going to do now is cover this with some foil and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator for about an hour to an hour and a half before I cut it. The reason I want to do that is I really want the icing to solidify more and harden back into that cream cheese type texture before I cut this up. But I will be cutting this up into 8 portions. I will show you what that looks like right here once I cut it all. And that's also how I'll be loading it into my Fitness Pal. So this 8 by 11.5 sheet cake will be 8 individual sized portions. You can freeze these and heat them up later. You can leave them in the refrigerator if you think you'll eat them right away. I personally will only be having 2 of these later with my husband for dinner. And then I will put the rest in the freezer. So when I start craving this, I can just pop it out, heat it up for a few seconds, and be good to go. For more recipes like this, specifically, follow me at Journey to Slim Jim on Instagram. I'll throw that up here. And of course subscribe, because every time I try new recipes that I really like, and they're things that I make and they're staples in my life, turning on this keto journey that I'm on. I am down about 57.6 pounds now. Woohoo! That is since January, and it is now August. So I'm in a little bit of a plateau right now, and I just changed my macros again. But again, to follow my journey, just subscribe or follow me on Instagram. Hope you guys enjoy. Bye.